Welcome to episode 1, where we're going to talk about the 8 non-negotiables that I started to implement to reach my full potential. And I got my boy Jason here, who plays football, and he started to implement 3 of these. He's been able to see immense results. I'm just going to start this off. This video is really for people that know that they can do better, want to reach a new level. Even if you're doing well and you think that you can, reach your full potential, those are the kind of people that, I think this is really going to help. People that are really serious about taking that next step and reaching the next level. So without further ado, let's get into it. But the reason I wanted to bring Jason here is because he can talk about, the 3 that he was able to do that really had him stand out in football and everything he was doing outside of football, school, work, doing his own side hustles, whatever it was. The habits Jason was implementing outside of the football facility that people in general just are not doing all of these things, and that's why they're not reaching their full potential. So with that, the first one is right when you wake up, don't go on your phone immediately. That's a big one. I used to wake up, I used to doom scroll. By the time I would get out of bed, my brain was just fried. It was really hard for me to get, to the next part of my day. And, once I didn't go on my phone right away, I would wake up, I'd go on a walk, I wouldn't be on my phone, I'd drink water, rehydrate. I would do that, and I really started doing that a year ago, and you can kind of see the start of my transformation. Once I came to Jason with this, and I was like, just try not scrolling right away, wake up, go outside. For him, he doesn't have to go for a walk, he does football, they do all that with him, but just him going outside, not being on his phone. So
yeah, to speak up about a little bit of it, just being able to wake up and know you're clear-minded and be able to approach the day with a better mindset. Because I feel everyone probably does this, which is a terrible habit. Wake up, go on your phone, start scrolling TikTok, Instagram, all that BS. But being able to just getting up and journal and write down how you want to attack the day, or rehydrate, make sure that you're good and ready to go and attack the day. I feel that was a big key in getting to where I am now, so I can attack the season stronger and faster than I've ever done in my past 3 years here.
Yeah, and and his coaches were noticing how big of a difference it was. They were speaking on it. So this all just to prove to you, it's not just me or it's not just him. This can be any of you that actually are serious about leveling up, reaching your full potential. That's who's going to benefit from this. People that actually really want to do it. Because Jason, I was telling Jason about how I was progressing from doing it, and he was like, I can tell you're doing a lot better. Let me try doing that. And then he started seeing his own results. So going down to 4, for me it was diet. Definitely, it's one of the non-negotiables I still incorporate today, because what you put in your body is exactly what you're going to get out of it. And the better things you put in your body, the better you're going to operate throughout the day. No matter what that may be. So more ground beef, eggs, vegetables, fruits. Real foods, not a million ingredients. Things that are just when you think back to our ancestors, the only things that they were eating is really what I was eating. And so once I started to do that, like I said, more towards a year ago, I really started to see those differences, not only physically, but mentally, how I operate on a daily basis, how easy it was for me to get out of bed, how easy it was for me to go to bed. All of this stuff revolved around keeping those 4 main things as the central part of my diet. And so when I told Jason that, he was interested in that.
Just to speak on that, I feel the diet is one of the biggest things that you should take from this video, because a healthy diet is really everything. It's just what you feel your body, it's what you're gonna get from your body, what you're gonna be able to do that in that certain day. And just being able to have whole foods as far as eggs, ground beef, and feel you're able to have more energy and attack the day will set you apart 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, so you're hearing it from him, not just me. The reason I'm laughing is because I've never stood in front of a camera with him before, so,
yeah.
So it's just new concept. But no, he's 100% right. I'm not the only one preaching it, he's preaching it, and we've both seen success in different ways, and a lot of it comes from the diet that we choose to eat. So that's huge. And I'm gonna make a separate video about why some foods are better than other foods. Why we prefer ground beef and eggs over chicken and rice or protein pancakes.
Yeah.
All that stuff really makes a huge difference. So with that, the last one that Jason can help me advocate for is number 8, no phone an hour before bed. Not going on my phone before bed has been huge for me to be able to sleep when I want. I go to bed super early, I wake up super early, and not going on my phone right when I wake up before I go to bed is huge. And Jason really started to implement that too, so I'll let him talk about it.
Yeah, just to speak on no phone an hour before bed, how important it is to actually go to sleep on the right time and be consistent with that. Because life is all about consistency. Just being able to have a plan and a process that you use day in and day out is really going to set you up for better. So now what I do, an hour before bed, I'll just grab a journal, start journaling down notes, how I want to attack the next day, the current day, and how I just feel I can be a better person the next day. So that's really the main thing. But I feel the biggest thing you should take from this is just being consistent. That's what honestly sets people apart. The thing about regular people who don't really do much or don't really achieve the goals they want to achieve, they're just very inconsistent. But to set yourself apart, gotta be consistent.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, and I know Jason's busy, so I'm gonna let him go and I'm gonna attack the rest myself. I appreciate you, brother. Truly, man, he's one of my best friends, so to have him here talking is, means everything to me. he's been killing it, and he's been locked in really in my tight circle and has been helping me get better. So, yeah, bro. With that, appreciate you, bro.
All right, bro. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Love, bro. I'll see you.
Love.
I'll keep it going. All right, welcome back. I know I was recording somewhere else yesterday. It was going great until my camera stopped recording, so that's really fun. But we're just gonna keep going with where we left off, and we left off with number 2 on this list, fasting and black coffee. So, assuming that you've woken up, you've gone for your morning walk, you've drank your water, you got some steps in, which is great. Now we're going to fasting. So for me, I don't eat until 2 p.m. every single day, and there are so many benefits to fasting, especially if you're trying to burn fat. Fasting is just one of the easiest ways to do that. So for me, the best thing that I've done to fast until 2 p.m. is drinking black coffee 2 hours after I wake up, right? So the reason I wait 2 hours is because when I drink coffee right after I wake up, later on in the day, I have energy crashes, I want to take a nap, I get brain fatigue, like brain fog, and so when I'm waiting 2 hours after I wake up, that really helps me fast later on in the day, right? If I'm waiting 2 hours after I drink coffee, let's say it's 8 a.m., instead of drinking coffee at 6 a.m., I'm drinking at 8 a.m. Now, once I drink that coffee, it's a stimulant, right? I'm not hungry anymore. I can go further on in the day without wanting to eat food. So black coffee is great for helping you fast, and fasting in general just keeps your fat burning process ongoing. So if you're able to wait later on in the day to eat your first meal, you'll burn a lot more fat at a much higher rate, and you'll start to see results. The other thing with fasting is I operate at my best when I'm in my fasted state. I think the clearest. I'm able to do the most work. The most work I get done throughout the day is done between 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. And the significance of that is I haven't eaten a single meal yet. It's definitely not an accident. It's something that for me is a non-negotiable because I'm still trying to burn more fat and put on more muscle at the same time. And fasting is just an absolute cheat code. So that's number 2 on my non-negotiables. Number 3, steps. So steps is really important. So like my friends, they saw my transformation and they were like, what cardio did you do? And I tell them, I just go for walks, right? I get steps in. I'm not running, I'm not jogging, because if I do that and then I lift later on in the day, then my lift is affected by that. I'm way more tired. I'm not as explosive in the gym. And just by walking, simply walking, I'm really able to get steps in, burn fat. It's a great way to lose fat, and I'm not affecting my, my lift later on in the day. People ask me, so do you do like incline walk? No, I have to get 15 to 20,000 steps every single day. That's a non-negotiable for me. If you're just starting out in this and you're taking this serious, try to get 12,000, make that your non-negotiable set point, and then progressively work your way up, because you will see a difference in how you think, feel, operate, everything. But yeah, steps for me, absolute non-negotiable. Moving on to number 4, diet. Diet is huge. Jason touched on it a little bit, but for me, the staple of my diet surrounds red meat, eggs, veggies, and fruit. And so I'll make a separate video about diet and why those are the foods that I put in my body rather than protein powder, chicken and rice, whatever like all these other people have tried to tell me works online, like these fitness influencers. I've done it all, right? I've been training for about 6 years, but I never saw results I wanted to see. I was always doing things the wrong way. Through a lot of trial and error, I found that having those main foods as the staple of my diet has actually been the most beneficial, not only physically, but mentally, and just every part of my life has gotten a lot better since I've made those diet adjustments. And like I said, I'll make a different video, going more specific into that, but it is absolutely a non-negotiable. And you have to understand that you can do these things. You can have a lot of these things checked off, but if your diet is not locked in, then so many of these other things just do not matter as much. While yes, they all matter, they're all non-negotiables, diet might be one of the most important things that you're gonna hear about in this video. So diet, absolute non-negotiable. All right, number 5, weight training, absolute non-negotiable. People always ask me, do you train for 2 hours a day, or what do you do? And no, I only train 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. I only spend 5 hours a week in the gym. That's all you really need if you have the right training program and you're just going hard, pushing yourself, staying disciplined to go 5 days a week. That will take care of itself. But there are days of the week where I'm super busy and I know that I have to lift in the morning, so I'll wake up super early, go lift in the morning, and then go throughout my day. But definitely orienting my schedule around, having an hour to weight train is absolutely essential. And that's been a huge part of why I've seen success physically, mentally, just everything. There's so many benefits of going to the gym, so definitely non-negotiable. Number 6, 8 hours of sleep. 8 hours of sleep is so crucial, not only to burning fat and building muscle, but just thinking properly throughout the day, clear mind, being able to work your hardest, operate at your best. 8 hours of sleep. I know I'm not the first person to tell you that, but it is that important. I mean, outside of diet, I don't think anything is more important than 8 hours of sleep. And 8 hours of sleep might be more important than diet. It is that crucial. And so, like some of these, like phone use before bed, which is the next one that Jason talked about a little bit, that completely correlates to 8 hours of sleep. So there's no denying that getting 8 hours of sleep is absolutely crucial. You guys need to understand that so many of these habits go hand in hand with each other. An example is steps and 8 hours of sleep. My boy who works a corporate job called me. He's like, yo, I tried waking up at 6:30. I couldn't do it. I had to hit snooze. I really wanted to wake up, get like 3,000 to 5,000 steps to start my day and start off with a great day. And I was like, all right, at least first of all, you care. Like you want to actually make the change, right? That's the only way this will work. But here's what you got to do. You got to go to bed at 10:30 instead of midnight. You need to get 8 hours of sleep. That way when you wake up at 6:30, you're not going to hit snooze. You're actually going to get up and go for that walk. He did it. He made the change, and then all of a sudden he was able to wake up, get 3,000 to 5,000 steps, start his day off the right way, and it actually made a huge difference for him in that day. I got to check up with him, see if he's still doing that, but it's just really cool to hear about how he was able to do that, and then his day was a million times better. And it's those kinds of conversations that make me realize how much this stuff works and how much these things go hand in hand with each other. If you can do all these things one by one, you're going to be able to do the next thing so much easier. Your day is just going to be so much better. So that's why really trying to just stack these things together, stack one after the next, and then the more of these non-negotiables you're able to stack together, the better your day is going to be, the better you're going to feel, the better you're going to look. Everything will start to come together in your life. I promise you that. So moving on to number 7, phone use before bed. Jason was talking about this a little bit. I have these blue light glasses that cost me $7. I'm able to use them before I go to bed and go on my phone a little bit. I still try to minimize it, but at least the blue light's not getting in my eyes, right? But outside of that, I'm not on my phone before bed. You can do things like meditate, pray, whatever it is you need to do, journal. To get into that mental state where you can go to bed, your mind's relaxed is huge. That way you're actually able to get the 8 hours of sleep. It's the habits you do before you go to bed that lead up to you getting that 8 hours of sleep that is so crucial. And is literally probably the biggest non-negotiable. Last but certainly not least is cutting out distractions. That for me was definitely the hardest thing. I feel like that'd be the hardest thing for a lot of people, but once you're able to cut out distractions, you're really able to knock all of these things out. It's a lot easier. For me, it was weed. For people that would tell me weed would make me less motivated, I thought they were crazy. I was like, I'm super motivated. I'm doing all my work. Like, don't tell me that, that's BS. But once I put down weed and I realized how much more I was getting done, how easy it was for me to wake up, my energy throughout the day, I never wanted to take a nap. All the things that came from that made me realize that that was a huge distraction. Another one, alcohol. I was never like the biggest drinker, but even the days I would drink, right? I would train, later that day I would go drink. I didn't realize how much of the gains from the gym would be lost just from drinking, right? And the next day I'd feel like shit. I try to go train. Yeah, I think I'm training, but in reality, my training is way worse. So just by cutting out alcohol, my training has been a million times better. I never feel like shit the next day. I'm always able to accomplish everything I want throughout the day. I don't use it as like a way to rush through things. For me, it was like, if I could finish everything I need to throughout the day, I can then drink or smoke as a reward for that. I would rush through the work. I would rush through the gym. I would rush through whatever it is I had to get through in order to get to those rewards. So definitely not healthy. So between weed, alcohol, and gambling, which was a huge distraction for me, I used to love just throwing money on games, watching games for hours, no care in the world. That would be my day sometimes, right? And while that was a huge waste of time, it was also a massive financial setback, right? I owed people close to me money. That was a terrible feeling. I was wasting my entire day. And going back to the financial part, like I had to work really hard just to pay people back from me gambling. So that was a massive distraction. And once I was able to cut these distractions out of my life completely is when I was able to start to do these other things. When I really started to take my life serious. I looked way better. My grades were way better. My relationships were better. I got closer with God. My relationship with God should be a top non-negotiable. I don't have it on here, but just know that is an absolute non-negotiable for me. Once I started to take my life super serious, I got close with God, and that has really helped propel me. I'm going to keep going off what I was saying. Like basically, once I cut those distractions out, I was able to lock in on all of these so much more. And everyone has different distractions, different things going on in their lives. But once you become aware of how they're destroying your life and you're able to cut them out, that makes all 7 of these so much easier. So with that, I'll answer any questions you have, get another look at this. I think obviously like for diet, diet requires another video because different people have different needs, but diet's super important. I'll get more specific in that. Same with weight training, steps, even fasting and black coffee. I thought I could make a video on all of these, right? So drop your questions. It's my first time doing this. Super fun though. I'm not charging for a cookbook or a protein powder or a company. I'm really just doing this because I believe in it. It's done a lot of good for me and people close to me, and I want to help share it so that you can also improve yourself, especially if you're interested in reaching your full potential, becoming the best version of yourself. So with that, I'll close. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.